this one she shouldn't have said because she has no evidence to back it. When it comes to Edu Lodge, where she alleges the...
She said he was her uncle. She stayed there for years, and it was a key, you know, one of the places that were prominent in the planning and the murder of
so
her
she
uncle.
Has no evidence to back it. She has no evidence. In fact, where in the history of Ghana, which textbook, which law case has ever brought up the Edu Lodge as a place that was used to plan the execution of the judges? Completely, it's not backed by any evidence whatsoever. Again, if you knew, if the Chief Justice in her life, and she's not a young person, she's old enough, she's past 63 or so. So if a person like this, who was old enough in 1981, knew that there was a planning to murder judges at that place, and she took no step and had decided to sit back until today, then she's a very dangerous citizen of this country. Yes, very, very dangerous. You knew all these things when those culprits involved had at all material times denied. And what is so worrisome is that being the Chief Justice of Ghana, every year you preside over the service that is held in honor of the judges. You preside over it. After that, you have gone there many times, and as a Chief Justice, you preside over at least twice. And now you come and tell us that you know all that happened, and you decided to keep quiet. But I believe that Madame is doing a big injustice to herself. And as my colleague said, there are certain things. You have a family, you know, a husband, and children, and classmates, and church, everything. You don't have to come and do this in public. You see, until she did that, until she did that, I didn't even know that her direct uncle, father's elder brother, was this man who betrayed Kwame Nkrumah, Dr. Alex Kwesi, who took money from the CIA, and he was the most trusted confidant of Nkrumah, and told Kwame Nkrumah that Nkrumah should travel, there would be no coup, because CIA had promised him to make him the next president of Ghana. That man's niece is this man. Until all this matter, I wouldn't have known. So she should not sleep in just like whether she likes it or not. She will not be the Chief Justice of Ghana forever. She should understand that. To say is completely wrong, because the Article 1.4 says she mentioned, specifies that in the case of the investigation at the committee level of the Chief Justice, because the position is so sacrosanct, nothing about it should be done in public. It should be in camera. But all that she has insisted on, including what she said yesterday, was that she wanted a public hearing of it. So it means that for your sake, Ghanaians must be prepared to be unconstitutional. For your sake, we must bend a portion of the Constitution. No, I don't think that is proper. Second, I heard her say that whatever has been leveled against her is completely wrong, and gave some instances. I think any time you would want to make such a statement, you don't pick portions of the petition or whatever allegation that has been made against you and make a case out of it. No, you rather read everything from A to Z. Then the people listening to you will have an opportunity of making their minds. You don't just just pick one. For example, to do with the finances, that she paid some money and then retired the money. That is just one example you were given. What about the extent of the petition? If it is 30-point petition, 50-point petition, is that what is saying relevant? Second, you should remember that it does not take up to 100% of the entire petition meeting the required standards as having been able to be proved before she will be dismissed. Each one of them can send her packing home. But before I conclude on this point, Kafui, let me make a statement as a lawyer. You see, under the Ghana 1960 Constitution, something happened. After an attempt on Nkrumah's life in Kulungugu, the whole matter was brought before the Chief Justice. And the Chief Justice exonerated all the, the accused persons. you know, and there was one that offended Nkrumah personally, that Tewia Adamafio, who traveled by Nkrumah's side to Burkina Faso, then Upper Volta, on their return, had deliberately remained in Burkina Faso. And upon hearing that there had been a bomb blast, immediately asked in Ga, did the man die? In the Ga language, did the man die? So Kwame Nkrumah felt that somebody who traveled with him, so that if he had returned with him on that day, would have died. Why did he decide to stay behind in Burkina Faso? 2, when he heard about the president's near death or death, why would you ask a question, did the president die? It means he was part of the conspiracy. But the Chief Justice said that, no. If somebody asks whether the president died or not, it doesn't mean he has conspired to kill you. He's a human being. He's one of your ministers. So he has a right to find out whether you are dead or not. And Nkrumah summarily dismissed the Chief Justice, which everybody in the world said was wrong. Now, Rawlings, facing the same imaginary situation, that if I were Kwame Nkrumah, and then I had somebody like, say, a Kukosa, trying a similar case, how would I go about it? Look, the 1992 Constitution is only a transitional constitution which should have immediately been amended or repealed by Kufuor, and then a real democratic constitution put in place to centralize every constitution made by a military officer, especially one that the military officer is metamorphosing into a civilian president would be, is one that is shown to fit his status. It's as simple as that. And we don't blame him. It is worldwide. So the next properly democratic government that is elected, after the 2 terms of the military officer, then the state sit down to amend the constitution, which was never done by... so back to my story. What Rawlings did was that, how would I find an opportunity to dismiss a Chief Justice without anybody blaming me? Look, Kafi, when you send an ordinary case to the Supreme Court, we have 5 judges of the Supreme Court sitting on it. How come that if you want to dismiss a whole Chief Justice of Ghana, you say only 2 judges of the Supreme Court and 3 members of the public? The meaning is that the 1992 Constitution has been crafted in a manner that if the executive wants to dismiss the Chief Justice, it becomes so easy as 1 + 1 for a class 1 pupil. And so any reasonable Chief Justice who sits by and discovers that a petition about him or her has been forwarded to the president, and the president has meticulously followed all the processes up to the extent of setting up a committee to investigate you, please, nobody should tell you that the intention of that government is to dismiss you from office. And a sensible Chief Justice, don't let me put the word sensible, that's harsh. A reasonable Chief Justice should take caution and resign from office. When you resign, nobody knows why you have resigned. And the good thing is that you stop the committee report from being made public. And then number 2, she has served for about 22 years as a judge. You go home with all your entitlements. Luckily for you, judges retire on their salary. So when you retire, when you are on pension, you don't receive pension pay. You receive full pay as a Chief Justice of Ghana till the time that you die. And then finally, when we are listing the number of Chief Justices the country has had, there is no way after a Yebua they will jump you to any person. No. So if people are advising you to resign, they are not people advising you by way of threat. That is not true. It is people who love you and want you to go home with all your entitlements who are advising you. In any case, whatever she's saying here, she knows it is something inadmissible in law because she has no proof to back it. Finally, by her training as a lawyer and as a judge, she knows that we don't publicize things judicial. You don't do that. So the public statement she's making is completely wrong. What you rather do is that if there is any aspect of the trial or investigation which is wrong, the committee sittings, under the same constitution, you have the right to go to the High Court or the Supreme Court, as the case may be, to challenge it or to bring it down. When you come here for public sympathy, at the end of it all, you are only creating work for media people to do. They do it as we are discussing. After here, you go back to the committee sittings. And that will never change their report. But as a prophet, I will tell you that any president who sets up a committee to investigate you intends to dismiss you. And you should take caution and leave office before the report comes out, based on the history of Ghana.
I thank you for your submission, our lawyer, and a prophet now. Yeah, I'm not chief report. Kobe, you're not a lawyer like me.
Thank you.
So I want your unvarnished thoughts on this matter.
You know, I've heard another story that even this woman had.
Not this woman.
I said her lordship, right?
Ladyship.
Is it lordship or ladyship?
Ladyship.
Her ladyship already before this administration, the previous ones was also not too kosher with her. And Malana, she mentioned that she would go home with all her benefits. Yesterday, in the press that she did, she claims that one of the reasons why she's not resigning is because if she resigns, she will lose all those things. That is what she said. So, to me, like Loyanoji said, it's a political decision. And once somebody makes up their mind, obviously, by his experience as a lawyer, I don't really have much to say on this issue until other group of people will come up with a different perspective on the matter.
As if you were a family member, what would you be advising the Chief Justice, suspended Chief Justice?
Honestly, I wanted to resign.
Why?
Because it's not every fight that you have to fight. Putting your name in the media or in public, how long are you going to do it? You get my point? You have children. It might even affect them. You know, spouse, everything, you yourself. Hey, I'm in Torkonuu. You know, so sometimes it's better that you just stay away and then the matters will die. I told somebody, Ghana, if you have a case, just be quiet for 3 days. Somebody's own will come and then yours will go away. So for her to keep this matter all this while, I think it's too long. And she, not because I understand the legal aspect.
He broke it down for us.
Yes, but I'm just saying that as an average Ghanaian.
Average guy, yes.
Yes, as an average Ghanaian.
Yes, average Joe.
I would say it's better for her to resign instead of trying to fight it. Like he said, there's a room for appeal.
Yes. It is not an end to itself.
It says there's a room for appeal.
The law says whatever recommendation given by the committee will have to be compulsorily implemented by the president.
Okay.
So always under our constitution, it seems like the president has no bite in it. It's other people doing it. So when you reach that level, just go away. But the good thing is that there is no right without infringement of right without a remedy. Ibi jus, ibi remedium. Wherever there is justice, there is a remedy.
Okay.
What they are doing is under justice with respect to the constitution.
Yes.
So the remedy is that every breach of an aspect of it can be remedied by the appropriate court. Okay. And the media is not a court that can give you the remedy you want.
Okay.
If they are treating your lawyers as, he says, like the magicians who appeared before Nebuchadnezzar. Where I disagree with her is that in the case of the magicians, one, they didn't know Nebuchadnezzar's dream, and so they didn't know the interpretation. Why do you liken yours today as your lawyers? Because in your case, you know the petition against you, all the charges, and you have even mentioned aspects of them here. So you know. And then two, we all know what the law says. And it is not your lawyers who are going to interpret it. The lawyers are only going to fight for you. So the two are not the same. The two scenarios can never be the same.
No Nebuchadnezzar comparisons here.
No.
She's definitely not Nebuchadnezzar. Far prettier and far kinder.
And the president too is not a Nebuchadnezzar.
I was ready to tell her. Thelma is here. Tell her how me.
Charlie, cool. The Nebuchadnezzar had to go to, the Bible.
And then go check for the references.
And then ask, our AI friends, like, what did Nebuchadnezzar do? To get the context within which the CJ, suspended CJ, made the comment. But she said lots of other things as well in that press conference. And I just want to walk us through some of the key elements of her presentation to the Ghanaian public yesterday. So she took us through some bit of history, telling us that in all, so these are all exact quotes from the Chief Justice. So I am not saying this is what the CJ said yesterday. She said that in all of Ghana's 68-year history as an independent republic, there has never been a hearing for the removal of the Chief Justice. Unfortunately, every step of the removal process being undertaken against me is being done in a manner that breaks every rule on how justice is delivered in the country. Lawyer, if at any point you want to answer more specifically to any of the slides, but you are free to come in.
The first one.
Okay, the first one that she said.
68 years of constitutional development. You see, a constitution is always a very small book, small, just as one book of the Bible, not as big as the Bible itself. Then the interpretation of the aspects of the constitution, the provisions of the constitution, help the constitution to grow. We call such interpretations as made by the courts precedents. So the law grew out of precedents. Now 68 years. Somebody has now decided to test the efficacy of Article 146. Whatever decision that comes out of it will be called the precedent, which will be followed in future. A clear example was the Ghana election in which Dr. Bawumia sent to court, the pink sheet case.
You mean the petition?
Very good, the petition. Because it had never happened in Kenya before, they used the Ghana one as a precedent. So always the law develops as a result of precedent. And as a judge, she knows what is precedent, so she shouldn't worry about it. It's the first time that has happened to her. Next time it will happen to another person, and it will be a second time. Then the law is growing.
Okay, so a test of the law is what lawyer is saying. So let's go on to the next slide and what we have captured on her comments about the institutions that will be affected by this process. And the Chief Justice said, the suspended Chief Justice said, this process will affect how all High Court justices, justices of the Court of Appeal, Supreme Court justices, and all Chief Justices that will be appointed in the future may be removed from office. The law did not provide for the termination of their appointments by any authority.
That is also a mistake. Let me quote here. Let me quote what is here. The law did not provide for the termination of their appointments by any authority.
That's what she said.
So that should tell, it is true, what he's saying is true. It means that nobody can arbitrarily dismiss a judge, and for that matter, a Chief Justice from office. It is a process that somebody petitions, and then the President and Council of State come in, then taught by a committee report. The report is submitted by the President. The President implements it. Then the Supreme Court, that is the overlord guardian of the Constitution, is open to whichever side. If, for example, the Supreme Court throws out the committee report, the committee would also be represented there to defend itself. And if the committee report is also accepted, and our leadership, the Chief Justice, feels that it was completely wrong, the office of the, the Supreme Court doors are always open. So what she is saying is rather a credit to the Constitution that it does not allow any individual to determine the fate of a Chief Justice. Then up there, the process will affect how a High Court, blah, 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 will be, that will be appointed in the future, may be removed from office. Whether appointed in future or present, it will affect them positively. Why will it affect them positively? All along, they take decisions and nobody complains. They take decisions and nobody complains. today, as we speak, out of 33 million people of Ghana, we have got people who are so conscious to the effect that any act of a Supreme Court judge, including the Chief Justice, will be questioned. So it will affect them, and positively, because they will have to set up that whatever you are doing. Can you imagine that this lady sat down with her accountant or finance officer, signed for money, traveled to Arusha, Tanzania, and it has become part of the petition that should tell you that wherever you are, there is a third eye watching you. And that is why it will help judges after this decision to sit up and do their work well, those who are not doing their work well. Right,
we'll go to our next slide. But she did talk about having retired or, reconciled some of those accounts in her statement. But we'll go to the next one on the screen, where she talked about irregularities and illegalities. And this was her quote: "The violations have not stopped, but have escalated beyond anything I could have imagined as possible in justice delivery." And this is one of her key points. The Edu Lodge facility that I'm being tried in featured very prominently in the planning of the murder of judges on June 30th, 1981. Was Edu Lodge chosen for this inquiry to make me feel insecure? I think so. Those are the words of Gertrude Torkonuu yesterday. She said Edu Lodge was chosen to kind of throw her off her game a little bit, to borrow, for lack of a better expression. I wonder if CAF has any questions for you on that.
Well, says the violation have not stopped, but have escalated beyond anything I could have imagined as possible in justice. This one she shouldn't have said, because she has no evidence to back it. When it comes to Edu Lodge, where she alleges the...
she said he was her uncle. She stayed there for years, and it was a key, one of the places that were prominent in the planning and the murder of
so
her
she
uncle.
Has no evidence to back it. She has no evidence. In fact, where in the history of Ghana, which textbook, which law case has ever brought up the Edu Lodge as a place that was used to plan the execution of the judges? Completely, it's not backed by any evidence whatsoever. Again, if you knew, if the Chief Justice in her life, and she's not a young person, she's old enough, she's past 63 or so. So if a person like this, who was old enough in 1981, knew that there was a planning to murder judges at that place, and she took no step and had decided to sit back until today, then she's a very dangerous citizen of this country. Yes, very, very dangerous. You knew all these things when those culprits involved had at all material times denied. And what is so worrisome is that, being the Chief Justice of Ghana, every year you preside over the service that is held in honor of the judges.
Coming up soon.
Preside over it.
Next
After
week.
that, you have gone there many times, and as a Chief Justice, you preside over at least twice. And now you come and tell us that you know all that happened, and you decided to keep quiet. But I believe that Madame is doing a big injustice to herself. And as my colleague said, there are certain things. You have a family, a husband, and children, and classmates, and church, everything. You don't have to come and do this in public. You see, until she did that, until she did that, I didn't even know that her direct uncle, father's elder brother, was this man who betrayed Kwame Nkrumah, Dr. Alex Kwesi, who took money from the CIA, and he was the most trusted confidant of Nkrumah, and told Kwame Nkrumah that Nkrumah should travel, there would be no coup, because CIA had promised him to make him the next president of Ghana. That man's niece is this man. Until I wouldn't have known. So she should not sleep in those lives. Whether she likes it or not, she will not be the Chief Justice of Ghana forever. She should understand that.
Next slide on our screen, please.
So we keep doing Chief Justice today.
She talked about breach of rules of disclosure, and this is what she said. The Article 146 committee set up against me has refused to give me copies of the petitions. To date, the committee has refused and or failed to serve on me the petitions that form the basis of the hearing and any specific charges against me. Let's take the next one, and then we will continue. And she said that no record of the petition or the petitioner's case has also been filed. This is what she said. The committee has not only permitted two of the petitioners, Mr. Daniel Ofori and a group calling itself Shining Stars, not to testify, and confirm on oath the petitions they have brought against me, but has also allowed them not to call anyone to testify on their behalf. So as we speak, there is nothing before the committee confirming the petitions brought by these two petitioners.
You see, what is wrong here is that in the case of the court, we know that our symbol is the scale, and it is two. The scale is dual, one here, one, it's a pair, and one should not outweigh the other.
There should be a balance.
Always there should be a balance. So it means that I'm told by a Ghana professor that before you kill a fowl, you should give it water to drink. Hear both sides before you take a decision. That is why our cases are held in court before a judge who is a disinterested arbiter in the matter. In the case of this public scrutiny of yourself, what you came there to say, it was between you and the media. And the media has no power, no right, nothing to have itself assisted with testing what you are saying, whether it is true or false. If there is anybody called Daniel Ofori at all, whether the committee has allowed them to speak or call witnesses at all, he could have filed a motion in court whereby the committee members will be present, at least with their lawyer, to answer to these allegations.
But is it within her rights to ask for copies of the petition, or for those who were accusing her to testify or cause others to testify on her behalf in order to hear from her accusers and face them directly?
100% right, provided those people will be heard at the committee level. Anybody who would be heard must have sent a petition to the president, and then it becomes of notice that that person will be heard. Then you will be made to write a response to it, and the two will be used against you. Please, just think about when somebody makes a complaint against you at the police station, he will write down his complaint, and they will call you that I've been called to answer this and this. I have nothing to say, but whatever that I say will be used against me. Then the two will be used in court against you. It's the same thing here. So if that Mr. Ofori and other people have not been allowed to speak, it means so there are several petitions against it. It means that petition is not going to be used. If, let's say, we have one petition which exhaustively deals with the subsequent ones, they can go ahead with just one. Okay, so and then you are lucky.
We are presuming that if the committee is not hearing from Daniel Ofori and Shining Stars, whatever allegations that those two have raised have been set aside. Is that a good assumption?
Yes, but in practice, nobody knows whether what he's saying is true or false. If she has sent the matter to court, then as I'm saying with the scale, then you tell your story to the court. Then the court will hear the other side. But the media people you are narrating this to, how would they know whether what you are saying is factual or a fallacy?
Okay, so we'll take the next slide, and on that she has other things to say about what she calls the improper litigation process. And she said the committee indicated that it will conduct the hearing not as an inquiry but as a regular litigation. What I am reporting on is a situation that is totally unknown to the rule of law in this country. So she cited two different laws or CIs at work here, and I wonder what your thoughts are. I think she said CI 65 and one is CI 47. And she says that the two, one is being applied here instead of the other. Help us understand that.
When we talk of litigation, we are talking about normally a court process where one always wins and one loses. When you talk about, so it is backed by law. When it is talk about a committee sittings, it's just an inquiry. After making the inquiry, you don't make a judgment over it. In the case of a litigation, you pass a judgment over it. In the case of an inquiry, it is just fact-finding. After that, you send your report to the entity or the person that asks you to inquire into the matter. You have finished. So she's saying that instead of the whole thing being treated as an inquiry, it is being treated as a litigation. Even though I don't know whether what he's saying is true or false, because as I'm saying, it's not being said in court. I believe that if they are treating it as a litigation, what she doesn't understand is that, one, they are not going to pass a judgment on you, even if they say that we believe you should be dismissed. it will not come from them. It is the president that would announce it, unlike in the case of a court. But where every inquiry is a pseudo court, it's like a court, it's because you are allowed to go with your lawyers, and they have the same courtroom rules, the same courtroom rule that one speaks, the other one keeps quiet. You have the right to take notes, you have the right to ask for adjournment, and then back whatever you are doing with your cases, authorities. So every inquiry is also a litigation, because you fight against the other side and allows the committee members who are presiding to take their own decision, except that theirs cannot be read to you. They will send it to whoever put them there.
Okay. Next slide. Let's see what more the Chief Justice was saying when she addressed the media yesterday. Then the effect of the current proceedings. She said, I have also received threats and veiled threats to the effect that if I fail to resign or voluntarily retire, I will be made to suffer some harm or the other. If I resign under these circumstances, I will be saying that this flawed, unknown, and opaque process is acceptable. It is not. Let's see the next slide. Final warning and national attention. She said, behind me is every judge in this country. Behind me is every commissioner or head of an independent constitutional body in the country. If the nation is willing to accept these developments, it must be understood that I sounded the warning and the nation took the decision to be passive about it. The historical reference that she made, then they came for me and there was no one left to speak for me. Martin Naimoya, I think it is, 1946. Personal integrity, there is no one person who can look at me in the eye and accuse me of taking a bribe to decide a case. So she also said that yesterday. I believe that these are some of the stuff that we picked from a presentation yesterday, and I'll hand this over back to you, Ka.
Thank you so much.
But if I'm to conclude on this.
Yes, and then I'll get Kofi's
yes, if I should conclude on this. She says behind her is every judge in Ghana. That is not true, because you see, when her case started, it was the MPP people who were holding press conferences on her behalf in sympathy with her.
Are the lawyers and the justices allowed to come forward, whether in support or against the process?
If they were behind her, they would have decided not to go to court. And I don't think the executive, led by the president, could have had the power to compel them to go to court. The president would have dropped everything if all judges in Ghana, from magistrate to the senior most judge of the Supreme Court, they would have laid down their truths. They are human beings. Nobody is behind them. The moment they suspended her, they appointed the senior most judge, what's in the Bafuboni, and he's doing his work with an expert efficiency. And all the court system is working perfectly. So it is, in fact, just 12 people following Jesus. Some of them hated him. And then you are saying that more than 500 judges in Ghana, everybody likes you. It's not true.
So behind could also mean that if this stays or if this process continues, the next person will be another judge. The next person could be, so that could be what the behind means. I'm only trying to, proffer an alternative meaning.
Devil's advocate.
Semantics.
What he is saying is still wrong, because once it is in the Constitution and it has not been changed, any Supreme Court judge or any Chief Justice who misbehaves or acts incompetently will suffer the same fate. And it is something that they know already. He is not the one telling them. He's not the one telling them. It's in Article 146. So he shouldn't tell anybody. As I sit here, I know when we are supposed to close. So after that time, I won't continue to sit here. I knew it before coming.
Kaf.
Thank you. And briefly, if you were in his shoes, would you take the same? If you're in her shoes, would this be your stance?
I'll quickly resign, because as I said, our constitution is such that when the executive will want to sack you, it will do that. The moment I see it coming, I'll quickly leave. And maybe she doesn't understand why they made 3 ordinary people selected by the president and 2 Supreme Court judges, instead of the constitution seeing the position of the Chief Justice as so sanctimonious.
That it should be only judges.
Only just 7 judges. You understand? And then they go and sit there, and then you see the seriousness of it. You put the ordinary people who do not, in practice, we say, have not been tutored in the law.
Yeah, of course.
And then only 2, so that when it comes to decision taking, when the 2 even go to your side, the 3 would outweigh them. So you should understand the spirit behind Article 1.4 says that it was created to make a president sack a chief justice in power without having the same blame as Nkrumah had. It's very simple. So we're there, I'll quickly go. And indeed, one chief justice in Ghana has remarked that Mrs. Justice Mensah Bonsu, Mrs. Professor Justice Mensah, has said that sacking a chief justice in Ghana is so easy as ABCD. And this was something I started saying many times ago. You remember? You called me and I said this long before we got to this day, long before Mensah Bonsu came in.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chief Report. Thank you so much, Thelma, for bringing all those quotes directly from the mouth of the suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Torkonuu.
Osaka Sembi, benya abotire na meye we because be pesa Ghana for the Torkonuu ye no. Or say, if CJ is removed, this way, everyone else is at risk. Or say, behind me is every judge and every commissioner or head of an independent institutional body in the country. If this model of removal can be tried on the Chief Justice, it can be repeated with everyone. I am not countering these processes for myself, but on account of leadership burden I carry. Or see, the idea mendeno, Sebio, me a Chief Justice, and the AM say, a betuma to judge bia, a betuma to penini bia or die a banye jumanu bia, inti or some tia say, and young men a me kwama me home. Now me catch them say, you bet to be the judge for the question here is this statement you are making, since say Madam Torkonuu case we buy, they are former judges in Ghana. They are former statesmen in Ghana. They are former lawyers in Ghana. She told us today she has been in this business for over 30 years. Why do you think even judges who are not now practicing actively, who are on pension, lawyers who are not practicing now, who see themselves as statesmen, why do you think you have not seen any of them officially come out to defend Torkonuu? Ask yourself why. Have you heard any former Supreme Court judge step out to share their opinion in defending Torkonuu? Have you heard any of them? Nobody. Is it not interesting? Because those people who were there before Torkonuu came, I don't think they are all crazy or they are all NDC. At least somebody will be reasonable enough to say, no, I also know the law. And I also have been in this position before. Why do you think we've not gotten any former Supreme Court judge, even one, to step out to defend Torkonuu? Because they have studied the law and they have seen that there is nowhere in the Constitution that has been breached. From the presidency to the Council of State to this committee, those judges sitting at home, the retired judges, those who are statesmen, they have looked through and they have monitored the process. There's nowhere in this process that the law has been breached. So when she speaks like this, now what she is doing is she is dragging all these people into it. Technically, they are all against me. I don't think the former judges, the former lawyers, majority of the statesmen and all that in Ghana, they will all be against you. They are not defending you because no law has been broken. No law in this country has been broken when it comes to you, this process that you are going through. Torkonuu came out, and what he came to do is to destroy and distract our judiciary and democracy. And the others or make a statement we are. You ask yourself, so why haven't these people you are talking about? You want to tell me, say, every former judge, every former lawyer, every statesman in Ghana, all of them are against you being removed? No, madam. There's a problem with you. They have read through the lines. There is a problem with you, Torkonuu. And you are trying to push the blame on them. Because a retired judge, to me, say, some way there, I don't even want to comment on it. If they are doing something bad like this to Torkonuu, why wouldn't I speak on it? It is because I'm not analyze the case now. Who say baby ni wa process we will be a breach imrano. So this woman, whatever she's doing, she's calculating what she's doing. She knows what she's doing. And obejina okasa almost 1 hour. When to men steti emraba kwa otchere se obi ebu emra no so processing. This is the Chief Justice of Ghana. She could not quote one law. Otumi den nsasi ni boka say the president, the committee, whoever is involved in this process, obi a breach imra no. She could not quote one law, one constitutional law. To say, where in Amijina so, she could not do it. This is the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. Because she knows the process is legit. The process is constitutional. She is forcing a narrative. She is creating a narrative. She is forcing you to believe in her kumewood. She knows what she's doing. She's communicating. She could have released a statement and told her lawyers to go to High Court. And why did she come on TV to do it? Why did she come to open her mouth and do it on camera? Or that conversation, she wants to be in there. She wants to direct the conversation. Now, Hadia, listen to this woman very well.
Anyone who has been to the Circuit Court or the High Court and made subject to the rules CI 47 will know that those rules never conceived that a hearing can be conducted without the claims, the defenses, and the issues being carefully laid out before the parties and accepted by all of them before a hearing starts. Ladies and gentlemen, it is this total absence of compliance with all known rules of fair hearing that has caused my lawyers to file applications for judicial review in the High Court to declare all the proceedings void. Because the clear danger is that through this flagrant violation of CI 47 and the darkness of the current proceedings being held in camera behind the walls of a Lodge, my lawyers and I can come to the end of the proceedings. The evidence will show that every one of those allegations in the petitions that were given to me on 27th March is unfounded and untrue. And yet, the committee can dig up some allegation from whatever documents they claim to be having from the president, which they have not shown to me, and purport to enter a recommendation for my removal on that basis. Allow me to say that this is totally unknown in the rule of law in this country. If it was lawful, I would have no reason to alert the nation of the dangers they represent. It is the violations of law that have forced me to bring these matters out in the light of day. The final and fourth reason for this statement is that I have heard on several occasions from loved ones, persons who care, persons who may not know me beyond my public duties, and many who think that since these proceedings seem to be carefully staged to result in my removal as Chief Justice, it would be best if I just retired or resigned rather than subject myself to an ill-motivated process. I have also received threats and veiled threats to the effect that if I fail to resign or retire voluntarily, I will be made to suffer some harm or the other.
Madam Torkonuu asama all can in say or say adekudientia oye de oye no simple or say eye Emrana omodi di asem no. Onon de ohu ne se emra no sibia ekwan na omonam so no enye emra so na omonam edidi asem no. Na okasa no say senka emra na omofa so di adi asem no senka eye emra kwan so na omofa anka no oni problem. But onene lawyers etuma gather enough evidence say senior committee no efa so edi djuma no eye djuma bia senior omo ye no emfa kwan mu emfa mbrem into ono kura no onene lawyers kode high court. That is what you think. San ono no dwene. It is the court that will decide, say, what is happening at the committee, the proceedings going on, whether it is constitutional or unconstitutional. It is not up to you, Torkonuu, to decide. That is why, you knowing the law, you have directed your counsel to go to the High Court. So why are you in public making the announcement to Ghanaians that you have directed your counsel to go to High Court? Because you are saying that per the evidence you yourself and your team you have gathered, you know, just say committee no nimra no so. Sankobu nimra no so dia anka wono, there's no way I will be contest ya the way. And I can say your unkofo kura omudo, nipa bi kura uhu omuda, nipa bi asebio, omu ye nkofobia, omu dwene ho, omu no wadi nkomo, say aden intina ade we unja amanenko. And I will catch up to dabi. And yes, say ja uja amanako, and a ding, ne mum. Unim se o se emrano ye adwuma o se emrano ye de ye adwuma enti na odan kutem na se wo committee ni meeting na se wo se committee no ade o mo ye na emfa mra kwan mu. Now you in your position as the Chief Justice, you know that the only place that you can make your case to prove the committee wrong or the process wrong is in the court. Why are you on TV sharing your evidence with us? Especially when you have taken an oath not to share anything that happens at the committee hearing. Well, then why do you deliberately flout the law? Why did you deliberately decide to breach or break the law to come on TV to tell us what you plan to do? Because when you plan to go to the Supreme Court, you didn't come on TV to tell us. So what is influencing this? What is influencing this, your decision of coming on TV to come and tell us what you feel, what you want to do, what you have gathered? Because what you have gathered is not automatic, or it does not justify that when you go to court, you are going to win. The evidence you have gathered does not automatically make your case better than whoever you are taking to court. So as we speak today, your case that you have does not guarantee you a win in court. So you coming on TV to tell us, say, this is what you want to do, no, it does not exonerate you from what you have done. Any Chief Justice who wants the right thing to be done will not speak about this. She will instruct her counsel to go straight to the High Court and put a case in. The same way you did it when you went to the Supreme Court. So what changed today? It is public sympathy. You want to paint the process as a bad process. You want to instill, you want to force us to believe your narrative. The OG and then I'll say you drag you along your sympathy journey. Yeah, she said something like this. Or say, I have received veiled threats that if I don't resign or voluntarily retire, I will be made to suffer harm. Or say, amanfobi sebio a threaten no. Nipebi sebio oma hunahuna no. Oma twene so sekan etuo sebio nipebi abane so. In a form ayenim, it could be through telephone. It could be obi awatwetu won so. It could be say obi de sika begina so. Or se nipa bi ehunahuna ne say ono wan resign a sebio na se ananka se ono anka anje ne wantum and retire. Boni amubedi no Madam Torkonuu, who is the creme de la creme when it comes to Ghana judiciary ne embra e woni tim no, she has refused to go to police to make an official statement. How did the threat come? Was the threat through a telephone call? Was it through email? Was it in person? Was the threat through a gun pointing at your head? How did the threat come? Where did it come from? What exactly did the person say? Why haven't you taken the initiative to report the threat to the police, but to come on national television to tell Ghana that you have been threatened? You are a judge. You are not just a judge. You are the Supreme Court, Chief Justice of our Supreme Court. Right now, you don't even recognize the Ghana Police Service. You have a policeman following you and guarding you every single day. You don't even respect that the police can protect you. So now you want to come on TV to tell we or us that you are being threatened and that you don't know what to do as a Chief Justice. And I am very sure you go everywhere with your security man, with your police. So I don't think the threat was in person, because if it was in person, I know your bodyguard would have taken care of that person. So the threat might have been through your phone, a phone call, an email, a text message, which can be traced. No number in Ghana today. Ghana number be anywhere to be traced in Ghana and there. Was it through an envelope that was thrown in your hand? You need to let us know, because at this point, you are still the Chief Justice who is on suspension. So you need full protection of we Ghanaians. So what stopped you from going to the police to make an official statement? For the Ghana Police Service to issue a statement that the Chief Justice of Ghana has been threatened to resign or voluntarily retire. What stopped you from doing that? Now, you do all these things on TV. What are you trying to prove? You are seeking public sympathy. You are playing on the minds of Ghanaians. You have sat with this committee for days and weeks. Suddenly, you have decided to come on TV. Why? You have been to court before. When the proceedings started, you went to Supreme Court. You did not speak. You did not even come on any radio. Suddenly, to High Court, you are on national television, prime time. Why? Why? Why are you doing what you are doing? We can see through what you are trying to do. We can see what you are doing now. The process will not change. It will not collapse. The law is the law. The process is the process. Now, listen to Torkonuu. She said something. She boldly made a statement. I am confident that in my journey as a lawyer, judge, and now Chief Justice, there is no one person who can look at me in the eye and accuse me of taking a bribe to decide a case. This is the personal treasure of integrity that I live with. You don't have to tell us. We are the ones who are supposed to judge. So, for you to even come out to tell Ghana for say, menje bribe da. And a menje bribe and decide assembly da. And none idea chese me Torkonuu. The question here is, who gives the bribe and who takes the bribe? Are you the one to judge your actions, or we are the ones to judge your actions? The office you are occupying is a state office. It's a national office. We decide your conduct. You don't decide your conduct. Now, this woman wants everything we are talking about now, and yet the committee hearing and the petition against her, she wants to trim it down to her and what she has done and what she hasn't done. Madam, you have not taken bribe. But it is not only bribe and you have basically gone against the ethics of your job. It is not just taking bribe. If you were just taking bribe, you wouldn't be sitting in front of a committee. It goes beyond you taking bribe from somebody. It even goes beyond you thinking as a normal Chief Justice. Your position can even influence decisions. You know that. Your position as the Chief Justice, you don't need to ask somebody for bribe. Your daughter benefited millions of cedis from Ghanaians because of your position. We were here when your daughter, you as the Chief Justice, your daughter got a juicy contract of almost $500,000 just to design a room for Ghana judiciary. Your position, where you sit, you don't have to take a bribe. Your position and where you sit can influence a process.
Thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more videos. And don't forget to share the video to all platforms. I'll see you in my next video.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.